Evan, to a couple others that were planning to participate, just to see if they're going to join, just as a quick tickler.
Yeah, let me see.
Because I think we all get so tied up with these calls. Like I said, I jump from one to another. So I actually use my alarm a lot to remind me that I have another meeting.
Oh, smart.
So, especially with all the distractions at the house.
I was going to say, especially at home, it's easy to get caught up doing other things. Yeah, it looks like we have 15 people registered.
Okay.
I'm just going to resend email confirmations.
Perfect. Otherwise, it'll be fantastic if we just have a few people, because then we can really talk.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Can I hear who?
Jacqueline.
We can hear someone. Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Jacqueline. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
There she is. So Jacqueline and Monique, we're just giving Evan a quick minute to be able to send a message out just to the others that registered, just to ping him to see whether or not, you know, they were still planning to join. But otherwise, truly, this is a collective wisdom discussion. You guys have been live in this for, God, I hate to say it, but almost 3 months. And I think there's probably a lot to learn from each other's experiences, as well as, you know, just what we've seen and observed and listened to in other webinars. And then I'll kind of go through a foundation of kind of where I come from with my background and how I've approached some of this myself.
Perfect. Well, I just resent the registration link to all the folks that have been registered. So hopefully we'll have some more folks join on. If not, I am recording the session and I'll pass that along to all the registrations attendees. But with that, we can go ahead and get started. So a lot of you know me. My name is Evan Bask. I am the Programs and Events Manager here at the Idaho Nonprofit Center. Just a couple housekeeping things. Like I said, the session will be recorded. If you're not speaking or if you have some background noise, feel free to throw yourself on mute. I'll definitely do that. I have a little 3-month-old puppy here that's crate training, and he likes to wake up and cry when I'm not nearby. Yeah, so with that, we can go ahead and get started. This is really meant to be an interactive session. We're talking, we're learning from each other. Feel free to speak up and unmute yourself. Feel free to write into the chat feature, and I'll monitor that and can relay any questions to Johanna. But with that, let's go ahead and get started, and I will pass it over to you.
Fantastic. Okay, well, hello. I'm Johanna Osland. And if you don't know, you signed up for the webinar that's talking about leading our teams in a remote setting. I'm going to just run through a number of different slides. A lot of them are very just pictures. It's just going to kind of stimulate for us to look at something. But where Evan had said, unmute yourself, we are such a small group. To me, it doesn't matter. But I do want us to have an interactive conversation, right? So to my point, we have all been in this for a couple months now, and we can all learn from each other, right? So any questions before I get started? Perfect. Okay. So I will, and you guys see the slides, right?
Yes.
Thumbs up. Okay. So, so when I break down kind of what I think we're going to cover today is one, I certainly want to spend a little bit of time getting to know who the two of you are. Monique, I feel like you and I have met before, though. You look very familiar. So,
you know, I was looking at you thinking the same thing.
Yeah. So did we both go through a webinar at one point?
That could be.
Okay. Okay. So great. So I will look forward to being introduced to you. And then Jacqueline, I don't know that we've met, but I'll be excited to meet you.
Johanna, we also have a couple others on the line. It looks like we have Eric here, Ivana, Monica, Jonelle, and Megan.
Okay, and they're all on from a telephone perspective.
Looks like Eric and Ivana are on camera as well.
Oh, why don't I see them?
Oh, and looks like Megan. You may need to extend any kind of
Yeah, no,
little
no, no.
boxes you got going on.
Ah, brilliant. Perfect. Okay, great. So we'll go through introductions real quick, and then it becomes the majority of the time we'll be talking about sharing not only our own experiences, but I'll lead us through kind of addressing change and how, from a Prozi perspective, change is usually managed just kind of from a structural perspective. And so that's kind of my hopeful gift to you as we go through the next 40 minutes or so. And then let's talk about what's next, right? Because from what's next, it's like, how can we continue to work together, or you guys amongst each other if you don't all know each other. So first is going to be introduction, and I'm just going to go ahead and get started with that. So who's who on the call? So I think Evan is somebody that most of us know. I would love to have somebody go before, and I can wrap up the discussions. If not, if everybody's quiet, then I guess I'll go. But who
I
would
can
like to
go.
start?
I can go. Can you hear me?
Fantastic. Yes.
Okay. I'm Jacqueline Whitwer, and I'm the co-chair for the Shelley Supporters of the Arts, and I also sit on the board for the Friends of the North Bingham County Library.
Okay.
So that's where I am. I'm in Shelley.
Fantastic. And then just quick, one other piece, and thank you for giving that background. A big win that you've had so far with your remote teams, something you've learned in the last few months, because we've been doing this now for a while.
We have learned that we actually can have a productive meeting, and our meetings are much shorter now, because we all can see the other things we want to be doing, so we're all just like, okay, let's get her done, and we check. Where when we're all meeting together, we start discussing something, we start rambling, and pretty soon we've got a long discussion. I'm going to take off my glasses so you don't have glare. But we have we found it, we have much shorter meetings, which is
Fantastic. Okay, and then any big worry? What attracted you to come to this meeting?
All of our fundraising has just basically stopped, and we're still giving out grants and we're still helping people, but because you can't have big groups, we've had several events cancel. So that's our big thing, is how to get reporting back, because we have an event coming up in July, and now that event is on. We don't know what's going to happen, and even if we do have it happen, the teachers who received the grants are not going to be able to practice in order to perform at the concert. So it's, we're having to figure out how to reestablish the way we're going to do everything and how we're going to have them report back to us. So that's a little frustration.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing.
Sure.
Who are you going to ping it on to?
I think Monique.
All right. So my name is Monique Smith. I am the executive director at Learning Lab, and Learning Lab is a nonprofit literacy center who helps people get GEDs, learn English. We have truly, I'm so tired of this word, but I'm going to use it anyway. Pivot. We've had to do things in a new way. All of these terms now are starting to drive me crazy. But so we went from in-person classes with our students and tutors, and we have about 250 tutors who help our students in whatever educational goal they have. And then we had to start doing it remotely like everybody else did. And I'm very, very proud of our staff for figuring it out in a short amount of time, to varying degrees of success. I think we're still learning how to do this. My past experience with remote teams is the occasional Zoom call, maybe twice a year, something like that. Nothing like is happening now, where we all have Zoom fatigue. I think, so my success is, my staff is awesome. The board meetings, to Jacqueline's point, have been shorter, and more people are coming. which
Yeah.
is great. There seems to be more board engagement, and I don't know if it's just their fear that they better show up to know what's happening, but I don't
Right.
care because they're showing up, and the meetings are shorter. I think the thing that I'm most uncomfortable with is managing a remote staff. Is when we're all together, it's very easy to walk into someone's office and check on them and just have those daily touches. And that is a little more difficult now, clearly. And it's hard in Zoom sometimes to rally the troops, to generate the enthusiasm. Often we'll have staff meetings and it's just quiet.
Mhm.
And so there's a lot more trying to generate enthusiasm. And there's lots of reasons for that. But anyway, that's kind of my biggest concern. And I'm going to pass on to Eric.
Good morning, everybody. Glad to be here and be what seems to be the sole male in the room. I am the executive director for the Land Trust of the Treasure Valley, an environmental conservation group based in Boise, but working throughout the Treasure Valley, as the name would imply. Fairly small staff. There's 5 of us, one of which is an AmeriCorps member, so she's a temp position. Anyway, and I'm still relatively new to the job. I've been on staff for about a year and a half now. I came down here from Sandpoint, so new to the community, new to the organization, new to a lot of things, and certainly new to COVID-19 and new to trying to figure out how to run an organization via Zoom, via telephone calls. As I'm sure all of you understand, being in the nonprofit world, the relationships are so fundamental to the work that we do. And just being able to sit down over a cup of coffee is perhaps one of the strongest techniques we have for getting our work done. Some of the success that I've encountered is, in fact, just the confidence that we can run an organization without having regular staff meetings, without having that that one-on-one touch that you were just talking about, Monique, which is so important. Just stopping by the staff's office and saying hi and how are you doing. So it is possible. We're still functioning. We had a really good Idaho Gives session. We actually exceeded our goals, and our goals were set in December before all of this came around. So we're delighted to know that philanthropy has not stopped in light of everything else that's going on. Not to say it's easy. We need to pivot. So we're having that conversation as well. One of the things that is on my mind frequently, which I'd love to have a conversation about, is sort of two-pronged. The first is just maintaining the momentum within the organization. Yeah, the staff meetings happen twice a week now via Zoom, but I can tell that I'm beginning to lose them from time to time. Their heads are somewhere else, and it's just so hard to really have that unified team that you can have when you're in the office. And I think it's sort of a corollary to this is, particularly in light of the last couple of days, how do we take everything that's going on, COVID, and now the sort of the riots that are happening and the protests, and have any kind of concentration on the work that we're supposed to be doing. I'm struggling with it myself personally, and I'm sure my staff is as well. And so, how do I, as a leader, give them that space to express what they need to express, to get that out of their system, and then also have them, while allowing them or leading them to be as productive as we need to be. So, any discussion on that would be wonderful. And I will pass it off to Megan.
Hi all, my name is Megan Willis, and I am the Senior Director of Financial Development for the Treasure Valley Family Y. We one big win we've had right when we shut down our facilities. It was the same week as our annual campaign kickoff, which is a massive event that we typically have 500 to 600 people attend. So our team took on the task of adapting to a virtual event very quickly, which ended up being an incredible success. It was still very cause driven, and we had a great time learning Zoom very quickly, breakout rooms and all. And we ended up having an earthquake in the middle of it, which was fun because now all of our faces are filmed. We have that reaction, and our CEO likes to say we moved to the earth. So that was great for us. And then a challenge that we continue to face, especially leading my team. We're a very tight-knit team. We have daily meetings in the morning to just make sure we're all on the same track with our goals and such. But they're very task driven, and we have done a lot of culture building in the past and keeping that culture strong with trust and bonding, a lot of one-on-one conversations, and that has been a lot more difficult, working from home. I think that it's more difficult to have those conversations through a screen, and we all have a lot more distractions between children and pets and whatnot coming in and out of the room while we're having those conversations. So giving specific time and direction to our culture as a group has been my biggest challenge. Oh, I need to pass it. Who hasn't gone yet? Monica.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Monica Keogh. I'm multitasking, which is why you don't see my face. Sorry. But I'm getting it done. I am the administrative coordinator for a faith-based nonprofit medical house call practice in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And we basically, like I say, we do house calls. We've had telehealth and homebound visits. Well, we've done the telehealth for over 5 years, so we're right kind of in our wheelhouse right now with what we're doing and being able to take care of our patients. We also have an adult day center here at the facility, which is starting, now that we're in another stage, starting to see more clients, more guests, which has been great. And Zoom has been amazing. I have both our office staff, 2 amazing ladies working from home to take all the calls. I'm the point person where I forward in the morning and forward, and I have to figure out who's going to use the phone and keep everyone communicating. So it's the first time I've dealt with something such as this with the challenges, and it's going good. We have a staff meeting every Thursday at 5, wherever you're at both the Bennett House and the rest of the staff Zoom in, and my boss, Dr. Malchiori, she gives us all the latest updates on what's going on and what to expect. So really feel blessed that I've been able to stay on top in a way that's I would not have otherwise. So what I hope to learn is just 1 or 2 little pearls from you guys that's going to change my life. So bring it on, okay?
Yeah.
But yeah, we're looking forward to getting together again at some point. But at this point, it's been good. We've been made to communicate in other ways, which has been really good for all of us. So.
Thank you.
Yes, and who hasn't gone yet? Anyone?
Yeah, it looks
I
like
have not.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ivana Rowett. I am with the Marie Blanchard Friendship Clinic in Boise, Idaho. We are a free nonprofit healthcare that is solely staffed by volunteer medical professionals. And this has definitely been a challenge for us due to the fact that we have one part-time person in office, which is myself, and then we have a clinical manager, and most of our staff is in the high-risk category. So a lot of our volunteers are retired medical professionals. Not all, but the majority. Our board is also made up of quite a few high-risk individuals as well. And it's been a challenge getting everyone on the same page with Zoom. I don't know if anyone else has had that issue, but I will say there's quite a bit of benefits with it. Our meetings are monthly, and they're very prompt and to the point. We will be starting a strategic plan probably in the next week or so. We have one in place, but we're picking up where we dropped off. And so I'm really interested in how others have used their breakout rooms, or if anyone has. And so that would be beneficial to me and what we are going to proceed forward on. I'm not quite sure how that works. I have taken another webinar with Zoom, but it wasn't as specific as I would have liked. So if there's any tidbits on that, that would be wonderful.
Great, thank you. And I think we have a couple others that haven't introduced themselves. Karen, she gone yet?
Looks like we have Karen, Jamila, and Andrew.
I'll go.
Perfect.
I'm Karen Morrison, and I'm the director of Aquability. And we're based in Boise, but we have programs in Eagle and Cascade and Ketchum. And we do therapeutic aquatics for people with disabilities. And we are obviously suspended our whole programs on March 13th. So we are in that scenario where we work face-to-face with our people who many have other concerns aside from just a physical or cognitive disability. They may have underlying, medical scenarios. So we are not really able to work and resume programming until we can work within face-to-face within 3 feet of each other. So I'm sure that we will not be starting, well, I know we won't be starting anything until September. So it's kind of tough having a program that's completely shut down. And so we've given up our office and gone to put everything in storage to save money. And we had to lay off our admin person, and we're kind of down to me and my program director at this time, and all of our instructors who were part-time certified instructors are all, not working. So it's kind of a skinny time. It's sort of, for me, I'm also the founder, so it's kind of a tough time because it's kind of back to the beginning 10 years ago when I started this. So we're just kind of hanging along. So we're working remotely, me and my program director, and she's younger. So I'm looking for some hints of how to keep her busy and accountable and connected with me so I know what she's doing. And yeah, I guess that, and just hearing some other tidbits just by listening to other people.
Fantastic. And Karen, who are you pinging over to?
Well, I kind of came on late, so I don't know who hasn't gone yet.
How about Andrew? Why don't we ping to him?
I'm not sure if I see his name anymore. Did we have Monica?
Yes.
We had Monica.
I think the only other person, Janelle, you're out?
Yeah, I'm here. Let me start my video. I'm multitasking as well. So
yeah, no worries.
This is my first official day back in the office, and we are, well, I guess I'll start off with introduction. So Janelle Urout, the Executive Director for Nimi Poo Community Development Fund. We're a Native American community development financial institution located on the Nez Perce Reservation. So we're a nonprofit lender. Yeah, with everything, here at home, we're big sports supporter booster. So we went to state basketball tournaments, and then me and my whole family got hit by the flu, and then the pandemic hit. So it seems like I've been out of the office since February. It's been crazy. So leading, I have one staff member and a couple volunteers, and they've been working in the office, and then everything shut down. So transitioning, we were kind of in the online space, but this really pushed us with engaging with our community and our clients. The thing about, connectivity and broadband in rural areas is an issue though. So like, say for instance, like one of my volunteers, she's in this valley. And so whenever there's Wi-Fi or her cell phone doesn't connect, and then she can't connect, which is really frustrating for her because she's an AmeriCorps Vista member. So you want to make sure that her time of service and volunteering is fruitful. And then also engaging with clients. So our time is a little bit delayed because we're also, we're a financial institution. So handling the financial education and credit reporting and loans, and then doing the technical assistance. So for starting a business or for someone to maintain a business during this time is really difficult. And then that goes with, because we're not an SBA lender, finding and working with our community partners has been a challenge. So working with the local banks who may not service our clientele because some of our clients are unbanked. So, some of the small businesses and finding, who they can access for PPP and, the EIDL loans and then the Idaho rebounds. And so we're doing a lot of different things on that front, but managing the remote staff and also with our board engagement, it's been a little bit difficult because they're worried about Zoom, and then, hearing about people hacking into Zoom. And so the security piece was an issue, like, trying to figure out, like, the board wanted to wait. And so we haven't met as a board. I think we had just like kind of a couple committee meetings. So that was a thing as far as best practice. If it's Zoom, if it's Dropbox, there was a group called Board Effect. But then again, doing everything from home and then trying to build out a system for the board and board management. It's like, I don't have time to build a board. Plus I have 5 kids at home homeschooling. So I'm like, I can't do that. So those are the things that we have. But now that I'm back in the office today, I feel like I'm, like 200% more effective today than I was at home. I love and miss my kids, but it's, this is the workspace. So we're easing back in, following the guidelines, with the state, phases and reopening, but then the tribe as its own self, we're a nonprofit that's kind of hovering between those two entities. And so when the tribe directs that the offices all reopen, and so they all reopened yesterday. So that's why we're back in the office today, just to be respectful of our target market, but then also the tribe's governance as well. So we're transitioning, but with our volunteers, we'll keep them at home. And then we're trying to stagger, like trying to figure out managing of how people come back in, and then how to also continue to operate in the virtual space, because I can't look in the crystal ball and figure out like how long this is going to last, or right. So that's who we are. So thank you for hosting this webinar. I hope to get some good information out of it.
I think I might be the last one, right? So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And if I'm missing somebody, speak over the top of me, okay? So before I jump to the next slide, which I already have, I'm Johanna Osland. I am here invited by Evan to speak on the behalf of the Idaho Nonprofit Center. I've been working over the last 2 years with Idaho Partners for Good. My background is been in consulting, business business consulting, working with companies and nonprofits over the last 4 or 5 years. But prior to that, I worked for, corporate America, both Pepsi and Starbucks for the last 30 years, but very much on the operations side. And so I have had the opportunity to work remotely well before any of this. But what you guys have learned, and I am honored to be here with you, is honestly so much in a type of crisis, right? A lot of the remote work that I've done, I'll share some of the learnings I've had, but what you guys have had to do on your own is monumental, right? And, a couple of you guys said, God, I don't even know how long this is going to last. Obviously, none of us do, right? So on a personal side, I have 2 grown kids. One's in the university. I'm in Denver. She's graduating here in 2 weeks. That's been a bit of an interesting piece, but I don't have young children running around the house. And then I have a son that lives out in Seattle, but has lived with me now for the last 3 months because he doesn't want to be out in Seattle. He can work remotely. So I've learned a little bit about how this younger generation as well works remotely. So I'll share a little bit of that perspective too. But I think as we continue with the conversation now in the next 20, 25 minutes, I want you guys to chime in. And I very much encourage you in your chat to share your contact information. Because for me, I would love to reach out to you guys as well. I think there's only 3 of you, let alone I think another 2 or 3 of you that I've heard of your organizations. And this is a great way to just stay united and get it through this together, right? So I encourage you, if you walk away with nothing else, the learnings you've just had in the last few minutes, as well as your additional contact information. So from a content perspective, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I want to talk a little bit about leading through change, and I think this will speak somewhat and resonate with whatever we're going to have to go through in the next year, right? It doesn't matter if it's been now COVID or if it's been a major change in your direction of your nonprofit organization. I've seen this very effective in any type of situation. And it's really talking about an awareness and a desire, knowledge, ability, and then reinforcement and rewarding. I'm going to go through every one of those in a separate slide, but I always think of it as it's the change management way of approaching any type of change that an organization needs to go through. So from an awareness perspective, does everybody on your team know the direction, especially when you're the ED or if you're working very closely with the board? What is it that we're trying to go after, right? And that's so scary at this time because we don't even know where we're going to end up. We don't know what the light looks like at the end of the tunnel completely, right? You have still your vision and your mission, but what does it mean for your organization right now? And then the other piece is some of you have larger teams. They have a lot of input at this point in time that could be leveraged to help set the direction. Or if they don't have that role within your nonprofit, do they know and do they feel like they're part of what the change is? So if everybody's a little bit more aware of the direction you're trying to go, they're going to be able to lean in more. So let's just even say remote teamwork, right? So is everybody aware of what the expectations are? Some of you guys had said, I want my team to check in certain times. I know that they're very busy. They have a number of kids. Is there an awareness on both sides on what the needs are of the folks within your team? So I think building an awareness and understanding what you're trying to do from a direction perspective is very first. And a couple of you guys have shared that as you shared what was successful. The next is really that desire. So now they know. I think it's very fair sometimes to ask. I mean, this is crazy times. And those of you that were able to keep your teams, asking if they really want to be part of this crazy time, right? Because one of the things I hear from my kids is, you know, initially at least, they were like, God, my boss is always checking in on me. Doesn't he know that I'm like working on things, right? And so is there an understanding on what you're expecting? And then do they want to do it, right? And maybe laying out even together what that work could look like, right? Or having them come back and say, hey, you tell me. I know that we need this done by the end of the week. But you tell me, like, I'd love to see if I could get any of the problems out of your way. You tell me, should I check in with you on Wednesday? Or you want to send me a quick note and say, hey, everything's going good on Wednesday? Because I don't want to wait until Friday when it's not done, right? So building an awareness of what your expectations are, and that's got to be first, and each of these build on each other. But then them wanting to do the work. And really the only way they're going to want to do it is if they kind of designed it themselves, right? Just like ourselves. So let them be part of the solution. And I'd love to hear from you guys on, some of you guys have had some great success. I heard some of that coming from the YMCA. I think it was Megan Ellis. Do you have anything you could add to that? Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry. I had to run and help my daughter.
No worries, no worries.
Will you repeat your question one more time and I will
attempt. Yeah, and others can chime in as well. So when you were speaking about the YMCA and a lot of the things that you've had some success with recently, and we were just talking about having an awareness among your team or within the board on what changes are taking place and that desire of leading in and participating in it. And you shared some successes when you were saying what you've had success with. I was just hoping that you could repeat it.
Yeah, so I mean, we knew that we needed to keep our cause at the front of everything we were doing. And that looks very different for the Y than it did a few months ago when our facilities were open and we're having to serve in such different ways that we knew that that was really important to be able to continue to show how we are continuing serving, even if it's not face-to-face, and that is really important for each member of my team. So we actually start every meeting with what we call a cause moment, and right now we're calling it virtual cause moments. So a social media post or an email that we've received from someone that has been helped in some way by the Y, a senior that received a phone call, whatever it might be. And we share those to motivate each other every morning, actually, in our team meetings. And that's not just my team that does that, that's every team throughout the Y Association that spends some time just really encouraging each other of why do I continue to do this, and it's a motivation moving forward.
Thank you. So I think as well, when we think about having a desire to participate and be leaning in, I think what's really important as well is have gotten to know your staff, right? And a number of you guys did work in person. What I've seen, like in the consulting firm that I'm working with right now, is even though we've worked remotely and we've had our team meetings and our quarterly reviews and all that, it's always been very much business forward. It's been a hoot just getting on one of these Zoom calls. So I'll tell you, I got super sick of these after the first 30 days. Never want to look at myself again. They have to do it in the morning when I brush my teeth, right? So was us actually walking around like our house or sharing our pets and things like that, getting to know, I mean, what's wrong with like having my kids pop in, which happened more than enough times in my meetings going, hey, hi. And I'm like, that's my son, you know, and getting to know everybody somewhat, that built some, it builds camaraderie. And for us, I think with our consulting firm, it actually built more enthusiasm. Like, oh my God, I got to show up at this meeting. It's going to be 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't want to be there. And then it ended up just building some energy just because we got to know ourselves from a personal side. And I'm seeing some head nods. I imagine you guys have had some of that. And you know when that, like, it's working. It's not necessarily, you know, intended to be like this big win, but it is a win by natural, right? And it really builds that desire to be part of a team. And so awareness, again, do you know what really my organization is now doing? Where are we going? Keeping them informed, having that desire to be able to participate. And then, do we know that they know what they need to be doing, right? So that's building again. So many of the nonprofits I've worked with, they have some structure of a job description for the people that are on the team. There's some sense of within the bylaws, there's something written up about the steering committee or the board members and things like that. It's worth it, go back and revisit that. We might need to lay out what is expected in these new norms, right? And I know it's not new norms. Nobody likes that word either, right? It's like the pivot and new norms. And then do we have the right tools and resources? And there was a couple of you guys, and unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to cover this, but somebody had mentioned that they wanted to have a better idea on how to use Zoom for breakout rooms. I think partially for strategic planning. There was some other information shared on just being able to have bandwidth on in technology and such. I invite you guys, somebody that's really figured out how to do that Zoom breakout room, reach out and let them know, let that person know. And I don't remember who that was. Fantastic. Someone help her, you know, it's like we're here together, and a number of you guys, I'm sure, are already doing that. I bet Evan's been doing it. Nothing else, I'm sure she could be a great contact.
Yeah,
so
definitely. I'm happy to share any advice on Zoom. I'm also looking into some other platforms. I'd also recommend, if there's any platform that you're using or technology, YouTube actually has really good like 2-minute tutorials on walking you through different things. Sometimes they're also easier to find and search through YouTube. So I definitely recommend that for any basic or just tutorial like videos. So yeah.
And ongoing with knowledge, educating ourselves too, right? So obviously the Idaho Nonprofit Center has great information, and these webinars are being offered. I just jumped off of a call just prior to this with the Small Business Bureau, or a small business, the SBA. They have some fantastic things on their site, which are completely applicable to nonprofits, right? I mean, some of it's about financing, some of it's about team building, some of it's about running meetings, just like what we're doing. Everything really can be shared. So that's another great resource to jump into. So, and YouTube, of course, for any of the technology, just watch that, that's great. So knowledge is key, but beyond knowledge is making sure people have the ability, right? So you can teach someone how to play golf, but are they going to be able to go out and golf? You can have people know their job descriptions or know that they need to run meetings certain ways, but mentoring them and really helping along the way is going to take that knowledge to the place where they're going to be able to do really well. And you know, we've all invested a tremendous amount in the folks that are on our teams. We need to help each other, and within our teams, you know, just rolling up our sleeves and being able to help is very key. just quickly looking at some of my notes. The other thing I would say is I've definitely seen where I've worked with peers where when we're in person, the way they run a meeting is incredibly effective. When they've gotten on these Zoom calls, they have not been able to make it happen. So realize that somebody that was your rock star before might need some help, right? It's a completely different thing, right? Or even if you're asking somebody that was fantastic at doing, especially when we've had to reduce somewhat the size of our group, or people have had to take on new tasks, just because they were really good at one thing, they're not necessarily going to be able to do the other. So just be aware of those kind of changes. There's all kinds of really fun ways also to just get to know your team. There's some value cards that you can use, and I can send out some of those links. Just, you know, fun. I did an exercise with our group where there's a stack, it's almost like 52 cards, and you sit there and you go, which ones are my values? And then you can share out in team meeting, like, hey, these are my values, right? And so it just gives your team a sense of who we are. And it does with the funner activities versus kind of looking at each other and going, oh gosh, you know. So I'm sure you guys have had some fun activities that you've done to really get going, but there's been a number of them I could probably share out as well if that helps at all. And then you've now built the awareness in your team. They want to help, you know, within, you know, your boards or anybody you're working with. You've spent a lot of time educating, sharing. They're putting in the effort. Got to think about rewarding, right? So I just think of, for myself, that kid has such a smile on his face and such a sense of accomplishment. And luckily, dad behind there is just as enthusiastic. But that's key to me. I just love that picture where it's not only the kid that feels great, but the whole team and part of the, you know, dad or mom or part of the organization or the board is like right on, right? Because these are not easy times, as we all know, and just reinforcing and rewarding and recognizing people's accomplishments. But we all know that it's super important that as you recognize and reward, it actually means a lot to the person that's getting it, right? Somebody that gives me a McDonald's card isn't going to do a lot for me. You know, let's say I wanted a Starbucks card or whatever, right, the case is. Somebody that doesn't want to be recognized publicly, but wants to be recognized privately, that's where those values come back in again, just understanding where, what's important to that individual, right? Picture would have been a lot different if that kid was like crying and dad's still all excited, right? So recognizing and being excited with that person for what they have accomplished, the way they like to be rewarded. So I kind of covered again the kind of the broader aspects of, I'm just going to show everybody's face, of awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement. I'd be really curious some of the big wins that you guys have had in each of these different areas. Does anybody want to jump in?
I will.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
One of the things that we did with the staff a few weeks ago was distributed a survey to them, and we had a whole list of different areas in the office, and we had 2 columns that they could check. One would be, is this something you really would love to champion, or is this something you might want to help with? And we had everything from a Zoom expert to, I mean, we even threw OSHA in there. I mean, we put fundraising. We just had a list of everything, and then we had an others. And then my boss and I met with each one individually on Zoom, and we went over their surveys. And we also asked what has been the benefits and what has been the detriments of COVID. So we kind of started out with that, so they could say, well, first off, they talked about the detriments and then the benefits, and then in where their passions were. And if you just watch the body language, you can tell when they said, I would really like to be in charge of the birthday. And so as a result, we've got a wide variety of areas within the office where we had no idea these people really had a passion that they would love to take care of. So then we challenged them to find YouTube videos or whatever to see, or maybe there's some classes at the local junior college that they could take that aren't that expensive, or adult education. Anyway, bottom line, that was huge. And so that gives us something to look forward to hopefully as we work past this. But that was good for us, and helped me to understand really where they're ticking on the inside that they would not have had an opportunity to share otherwise, I think.
What a great way to build like enthusiasm and desire in your team. Awesome.
Yeah.
Neat stuff. Otherwise, others? Do we have still only Eric as the only guy on the phone? Anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't have too much to add to this discussion. I mean, it's been great to sort of break down. We were going through change even before this change. So this has been really helpful to think, from the 40,000 foot view. I also have a fairly young staff, and so that's been interesting to work with them. Sort of forced me to be, to step up my leadership game as well. Yeah, that's all I have.
I think what I've observed, just leading some of the, I guess, I don't know if you mean by young by age or by, but just, or in type of role.
I do both.
Okay.
Both, yeah.
Because in any case, in either case, from my own experiences, certainly getting to know people, right? I mean, that's always my, I've got to understand so I can slightly walk in their shoes. And then having some pretty clear expectations on what needs to, what my expectations are, and understanding what's going to transpire in a period of time. So, and letting people know that my door is very, very open, that if you run into an obstacle, I'd much rather help. Let's get that thing moving through versus getting stuck and not being able to approach me, right? So, but setting expectations and making sure that if some of those obstacles are knowledge or, having tools and things like that, I want to work through that, the awareness and the desire and getting that knowledge first. And then getting to a point where you should have the ability, because we know what we are supposed to be getting done. And now it's just a matter of checking in. You tell me when you want me to check in with you, right? But I can also be very vulnerable and say, I know the project's 2 weeks out and you don't really want to meet until Thursday before it's due. But I'm personally not comfortable with that. I don't know, if I need to be doing something on the side or I've got other things going on and I'm not good at jumping in last second. I have to let you know that I like to be helping earlier. I think just being vulnerable and sharing on both sides. And that's just my own personal experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess it comes to, just thinking about the staff that I have, and I'm sure this is true for everybody, but sometimes it's the most obvious kernels that we need to hear again and again.
Mhm.
It's each one. I only have 4 direct reports, and I think where I probably need to spend time is one-on-one with each of them, which I have that luxury of doing because there's only 4 of them. So we have twice weekly staff meetings, and they can be effective, but the culture isn't there. And I think just having time one-on-one with them instead would, I think, sort of help them
Great.
feel the support that they need, and also help me get to know them better as we go through this.
Great. Thank you. Okay, I am going to open up, let's see, where's chat? I want to get my information out here. Evan, you want to make sure that everybody has my phone number and my email? We're coming to a close now. With just a few minutes left. I do encourage you guys to contact each other. You guys are great resources for each other. You're all, some of you guys, well, we're all kind of in the same place, but we're all in a different place, right? And so learning from each other is honestly one of the greatest things that we have, not only in Idaho, but beyond in this community. And you guys are awesome to have come together. And I very much have been honored in being invited by Evan to join. I will close again by just saying again, what I've spoken to today from a content perspective is really about change, right? And this is just one change that's taking place. It is crazy times. It's very unique. I'm so proud of all of you guys that you're actually still able to work within the groups that you're in, because I've just come out of another call where a lot of people aren't even in your place. So, and it was great to hear that even Eric, you had said that that you've had great success in raising funds recently. Early on when people talked about what the concern is, the funding, I know, Evan, you guys have had some webinars on that topic, right? So I encourage you to reach back out to Evan if you haven't had a chance to attend those that were previous, because I would imagine everything's recorded. But again, the Idaho Nonprofit Center is a great resource. And I would just say thank you.
Yeah, and I'll follow up with you guys. I'll actually send you all an email with Johanna's contact information, so you don't have to save it from the chat. But yeah, feel free to connect with each other. I will just normally email you guys. So if you're just talking to me, feel free to just reply instead of reply all. But then I'll also send you guys the link to our COVID-19 resource page, which has all of our previous webinars that we've done, our free kind of series that we've been pushing out over the past couple months. But also feel free to reach out to us if there's anything that's on there that you are in need of, or if you have any resources that you think others would be in need of, we're happy to post it on there and keep sharing it around. But thank you all for your time this morning, and for all the work that you guys do in the communities. And we're here to help if there's anything else we can do for you.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah. Thank you, Johanna, for your time and your knowledge. We appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.